Okay, have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on in your head when you're just completely locked in? Totally focused? Well, today we're going to peel back the curtain on the science of attention and figure out how your brain decides what actually matters and what it should just ignore.
So let's just dive right into the core mystery, shall we? We've all heard people talk about being in the zone or in a state of flow. And it's this really weird paradox, right? You're performing at your absolute best, your focus is razor sharp, but it feels like you're not even trying. How in the world is that possible?
And look, this isn't just some vague feeling people have. It's a real, documented thing in cognitive science. You talk to experts, athletes, surgeons, concert pianists, and they all say the same thing. They feel this incredible control over what they're doing, but there's no sense of mental strain. It's like they're running this super complex program in their head, but it all feels totally smooth and automatic. To really get a handle on this, just think about the difference in how it feels. On one side, you've got effortful control. You know what this is. It's that mental grind, where you're actively fighting off distractions and forcing yourself to stay on track. But then, on the other side, there's effortless attention. That's the flow state, where everything just clicks into place. So, what's the secret sauce? What's the mechanism that separates these two states? Well, to answer that, we've got to get our heads around a really big idea first. You basically need to throw out that old image of the brain as just a passive camera, recording whatever's in front of you. That's not how it works at all. The reality is way cooler. Your brain is actually an active partner in building your reality. Yeah, this whole thing is wrapped up in a revolutionary theory called predictive processing. And here's the gist. Your brain doesn't just sit around waiting for information to come in. No, instead, it's constantly making predictions. It's placing bets, really, about what it expects to see, hear, and feel in the very next moment. It's a full-on prediction machine. And this whole thing runs on a constant loop. So step 1, your brain predicts what's coming. Step 2, your senses gather the real-world data. Step 3, the brain compares what actually happened to what it thought would happen. Now, if there's a mismatch, and this is the critical part, that's called a prediction error. Your brain only really pays attention to the surprise, to the unexpected, and then it uses that error to update its model of the world, so its next prediction is just a tiny bit better. So how does it make these guesses? Well, it uses what are called priors, which are basically just all of your pre-existing beliefs and experiences. Everything you've ever learned, your views, even things that brought you pleasure or pain in the past, that all feeds into it. A super simple example is the light from above prior. You and I have spent our entire lives with the sun and light bulbs being overhead, so our brains just assume that's the default. That's why you see these circles as bumps coming out, not dents going in. Your brain predicted the lighting before you even had a chance to think about it. Okay, so if the brain is this automatic, self-correcting prediction machine, where does conscious attention fit in? The thing that feels like we're in control of. Is it just kind of a passenger? Well, not exactly. It has a very specific and very powerful job. The key to understanding this is a concept called precision weighting. You can think of this as the brain's internal confidence dial. At any given moment, it has to decide how much to trust the information coming in from the senses versus how much to trust its own internal predictions, its priors. So, if you're in a brightly lit room, the precision, or trust, in your visual data is super high. If you're in the dark, it's low, and you have to rely more on your internal model to guess what's out there. And here it is, the big reveal. Attention is the mechanism that controls this whole precision weighting process. It is literally the tool your brain uses to decide how much to trust reality versus its own story about reality. And that's why this is such a great way to think about it. Forget that old idea of attention as a spotlight. It's so much more like a volume knob. When you focus on something, you are basically telling your brain, hey, turn up the volume on this signal. Trust this sensory information more than my internal chatter and my other predictions. So effortless attention, that flow state, is what happens when that volume knob is just perfectly tuned, automatically dialing up what's important and dialing down all the noise. This, of course, leads to a really powerful question. If our attention is a volume knob, can we actually get better at controlling it? Can we consciously go in and recalibrate our own prediction machine? Well, a growing body of research says, yeah, we can. And one of the most powerful ways to do it is through practices like meditation. Now, a core practice in a lot of meditation is something we can call non-action. It sounds really simple, but it is surprisingly difficult. The whole idea is to just experience a feeling.
an urge, a sensation, a thought, and to consciously choose not to react to it. The perfect, classic example is feeling an itch while you're trying to meditate. Your brain's automatic prediction, its prior, is that scratching the itch will make it better. The practice here is to simply notice that urge and then do absolutely nothing.
So what is that actually doing inside our predictive brain? Well, by not scratching that itch, you're sending a huge prediction error signal back to headquarters. You're teaching your brain to turn down the precision, to lower the volume on that automatic urge. Over time, this literally reboots your ingrained habits. And something else really interesting happens. You might start to enjoy the stillness itself, the act of just letting go. This creates a powerful new prior, recalibrating your whole system to learn that not every single impulse needs a reaction. And the result of this is, well, it's freedom. This isn't really about resisting an itch. It's about building the mental muscle to consciously opt out of any automatic behavior you decide isn't serving you. Whether that's grabbing your phone every 2 minutes, snapping in anger, or getting sucked into a loop of anxious thoughts, you're taking back conscious control. So where does all this lead? What's the ultimate payoff for this kind of mental training? This is where things get really, truly mind-bending. Because it doesn't just change your habits, it can actually change the fundamental way you perceive the world.
So take a look at this, the Necker cube. It's a classic optical illusion. Your brain gets this ambiguous information, and its prediction system just can't settle on a single interpretation. So what does it do? It automatically flips back and forth between the two possibilities. And you can't stop it, right? Try it. It's a built-in automatic perceptual process.
But, and this is so cool, studies on long-term meditators show that their brains react differently. When they look at illusions like the Necker cube, they can actually hold one perspective for much longer without that automatic flip. Brain scans show less activity related to forcing a single answer. What this means is that they are somehow gaining conscious, volitional control over a process that, for most of us, is completely automatic. And the science puts it really plainly. This quote says that extensive meditation practice may literally give us voluntary control over these ancient, automatic ways of seeing the world that evolution built into our brains. It's almost like learning how to access and edit your own source code. And that really brings us to the most important takeaway here. This kind of mental training, it's not just about relaxation or feeling calm. It's a direct intervention. It's a way of making the adult brain more plastic, more flexible. It's about fundamentally changing the way your brain builds your reality from one moment to the next by making it less rigid in its predictions. Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. Our brain's certainty, its confidence in its own predictions, that shapes everything we experience. It filters and it constructs our world. So the real question is, what could you perceive? What new things could you understand if your brain was just a little less sure about what it thinks it already knows?